Welcome to Freed on Business. He grew up in South Florida, has been in business here since the early 90s, and has closed over $3 billion in deals. He's seen it all. He always has an opinion, and he's always ready to share it. Informed, entertaining, and connected, he has his finger on the pulse of South Florida's business community. He's Jim Freed, and this is Freed on Business.
Oh man, am I excited about today's show. I've been working with my friend Wendy Kraft to put this together for months. We're so excited to have Greene of JABOY Productions, and he brought one of his good clients in today. We're going to have the most amazing time. It is absolutely the most tremendous show that we've done in quite some time. We're going to talk about building your brand. We're going to talk about family office. We're going to talk about involvement in the community. It's going to be absolutely tremendous. So make sure you stick with us for more Freed on Business. Mr. Mendoza, let's talk a little bit about Warren Henry. It's all yours. All right, everybody. We've got a great show for you today. Thanks for sticking with us. It's all going to be about involvement in the community and great families and what they do for our community. And I don't think there's a greater family doing things for our community in South Florida than our friends at Warren Henry. I want to thank Larry's in, Eric Day, Warren's in, Samantha Wolf, everybody over at Warren Henry for helping us out in the community. Floyd putting on all the events with us. Why do we do that? Because Warren Henry makes it all about goodness in our community, and that's a theme of our show. And remember, when you're looking to buy or lease a car, you want to get every advantage that you can. That's why you have to check out Warren Henry, Land Rover, Range Rover, Infiniti, and Jaguar up at 151st and Biscayne in Gainesville. You know it now. They've got that great Audi store. Down in the Keys, well, they got everything down there, all the great cars. That's where I'm going to go to get my Jeep. What do all those cars have in common? Well, they're all great cars. They all come with the Warren Henry advantage. It's a long list of services you get. Of course, it starts out with a free loaner in case you have to leave your car there. You get complimentary key replacement if you lose those $100 keys. You get, they'll buff out your rims if you park real close and scratch up your rims. I'm always using that one. They'll make sure you're getting the best price for your used car and your new car. And they'll give you 72 hours to make sure you like that new car. Guess what? Nobody ever returns their car. They love those cars. So join my beautiful wife, Vivian, my mom, lots and lots of my friends. And of course, I've been their client for over 30 years. We're all members of the Warren Henry family. You should be too. Always the best cars, always the best price, always Warren Henry.
It's time to stop the hate and spread some love. You are beautiful, you're smart, you are awesome, and you never have to change for anybody. You have the voice and you have the power. We are so much stronger when we come together. It's your choice, so choose to be inspired. Choose to be accepting, be strong, be brave, be awesome, be daring, be kind. Choose kindness.
I just love how Carrie Underwood sets the tone for our show. High five to Carrie Underwood and high five to Mr. Mendoza for playing that every week. And high five to you for actually taking it to heart. It's how I do business. Everybody that shows up for a presentation or solicits the people that I work with, well, we're all qualified. Who do they end up doing business with? They do business with the people that they like and trust. That's an endorsement. And I'm so proud to have it. I get referrals every day to some of the top people in town. They all call me for my opinion and insight. And today, one of my clients called me and asked me if I could help them redevelop a property in the neighborhood. Could I reach out to the community? It took me one phone call to find the person that they needed to talk to in the community. What does that really mean? That really means you need to reach out to me when you're looking to exercise your real estate transactions. Exercise is probably the wrong word. I got distracted because my phone popped. But really, give me a call, reach out, because what do? I help families execute their business plan. I help real estate entrepreneurs get their deals done, and I put them together with incredible institutional capital. So remember, reach out, DM, call me, email me, just get a hold of me, and you know what they'll know. When you reach out to me, it's always all about you.
Welcome back to Freed on Business. Connect with us on LinkedIn, YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter at Jim Freed or at Freed on Business, and on Instagram at Jim Freed1. Now, back to your host, Jim Freed.
All right, we're back, and we have some tremendous guests today. I want to bring them right in. I've been working a long time to get these guys on the show, and I really want to thank my good friend Wendy Kraft for setting it up for us. We've got Neil Greene. He's the president, CEO of JABOY Productions. We're going to talk about what JABOY Productions does. It's absolutely a brand building machine for some of the most important people in the world. And then we've got one of his clients on. We've got Garry Gilliam on. Gary's the founder of Bridge Eco Village, and I got to tell you, as excited as I am to talk to Neil, I mean, I'm even more excited to talk to Garry. So, Mr. Mendoza, let's get started. We've got them on. Hey guys, how you doing?
Hey, good morning. How are you, Jim?
I'm doing great. Garry, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thank you. Happy to be here. Thanks for having me.
It's my pleasure. Now, Neil, why don't we get started? Why don't you tell us a little bit about JABOY Productions, some of the things you do for some of your clients, how you move the needle and change the world every day. And then we'll introduce Garry, because I think the Garry story is tremendous, and I want to make sure everybody hears it.
Great. Thank you. Well, JABOY Productions comes out of a passion, and that's a passion to make things happen. We decided to build this company back in 2009, and it came out of really from being in financial services for such a long time and going to all these exciting events that were nothing more than boring, right? They were in great locations, great hotels, things like that. But I was just getting bored of seeing the same old four walls, same old people, never really getting to engage with the people that could be of any value to me and my business. And I was like, you know what? I got to build something better and bigger. And that's been my passion since I started my career in financial services when I worked on Wall Street. So I decided, you know what, there's got to be something that engages these thought leaders together and really design something that would interact, educational based, be able to, again, create great networking opportunities in incorporating great locations, great food, great culture, experience, great people. When you put all that greatness together, guess what happens? Great things happen. So that's really what the passion has developed. And from there, we created really something that nobody else can duplicate. It seems like it's very easy, but again, the passion from myself is really what is the secret sauce. And I found it very almost impossible for anybody else to duplicate that. People are trying, but again, it's different. And again, you know, the JABOY philosophy is based upon that credo of education, bringing those people together. And again, my experience in financial services and having the ability to really, you know, source and deliver investment opportunities and speakers from around the world that represent some of the best of the best, including Garry, which we have on the show here today. You know, Garry was a speaker at one of my events we did in Italy and at the Vatican. We just recently did another event here in New Orleans. And again, you know, just the vision and the passion that he shares just exemplifies the type of people that we have. And, you know, bringing these individuals together, which at our conferences, we bring together a really distinct group of those attendees. So those include, so you understand, family offices. We bring in professional athletes. We bring in high net worth individual investors that are allocators that are really looking to sit there and understand the opportunities that are available. Not a bunch of stuff that's up on the stage that people paid just to be there. These people really have been diligenced and sourced that can make an impact in the lives of the attendees. That is most important to me and most important to a person like Garry, which played for the NFL, that has a portfolio or also has access to other professional athletes, that when they walk away from one of our events, they tell the story better than I can because they experience it. So I think that's kind of a long-winded explanation. So from there, hopefully you understand a little bit more about what the passion is at JABOY Productions.
Oh, 100%. And that's the real difference at some of these events where some of them are just put on, people pay. It's really stiff. It's very boring. Whenever I moderate at a panel, I make sure that people know that if they're boring, I'm not going to call on them, that I'm not going to call in order, and that if they're not exciting, then I'm not going to get back to them. But you really mentioned a couple of things that I think we need to emphasize. First of all, that at your events, the people are allocators, because at most of the events, the people are just functionaries. So having an allocator there is extraordinarily important. The fact that you're at locations like the Vatican, which is kind of a high-profile location, but I know there's a couple of others that you've been at. The fact that you create experiential things for people to share, I mean, that's a very basic part of relationship building. And then the other part is that you surround people there with like-minded individuals, and that's my lead into Garry. Garry, welcome to the show.
Hello, hello.
Now, Garry, tell us a little bit about your experience at one of Neil's events and what prompted you to want to work more with Neil.
Bar none, one of the greatest conferences, that I've been a part of and participated in, especially the one out in Rome. It was actually the first time I'd ever been to Italy. So to be able to go out there, go to the Vatican, speak to some prominent individuals and do some great networking. It was great. It was phenomenal. Definitely nothing else like it. And every event that's coming up, I'm planning on being there.
I don't think you get a better endorsement than that, Neil.
That's terrific. We continue to, again, build that kind of brand with people like Garry telling our story, as I mentioned.
Now, what are some of the types of people that you work with? You put on the conference, but whenever I go to one of these conferences, it's usually built around a bunch of thought leaders. You must have a group of people that you work with that earned their way onto your short list. How does that operate? How does that work? Because you've got some incredible people.
Yeah, I think that really what we focus on is the quality over quantity. A lot of these conferences, as you know, Jim, they advertise they're going to have 300, 400 people there, and it's going to be all these selected or pre-selected meetings. And at the end of the day, those people are just people, and they're there to fill the room. And the same thing with these pre-selected meetings. Why would you want to have a pre-selected meeting with somebody in venture capital if you only invest in real estate? It doesn't make sense. So we do it the other way, right? We want to make sure that we have the most sophisticated quality individuals at our room. And if they want to actually meet with somebody, we let them know the profiles of the speakers and sponsors beforehand. And we ask them to request who they'd like to spend time with. That's a natural relationship, right? It doesn't force anybody to do anything that you're uncomfortable with. And like I said, with the quality over quantity, everybody attests to the fact that when you're there, no matter who you're talking to, everybody is going to have a thought leader capacity and also be able to deliver value to you and what you're doing in your life. And everybody inspires each other. It's just amazing to watch it from the outside, to look at the group and see what happens. And again, you talked about experiential. That's some of the incorporated things that we do, whether or not it's going to the Vatican, whether or not it's going to a very high profile boutique that it sells, $8 million necklaces or jewelry and art from Monet and Picasso. Those experiences, you know what, Jim? It brings out that culture and the opportunity to really experience things that you probably wouldn't do on your own. Because you think, hey, listen, maybe I never thought about going into this place, or maybe you never even had access. So we want to deliver that.
Didn't know about it. Didn't even know about it. I want to hold it right there because I've got a whole bunch of great notes that I took. Whoop, there it is. A whole bunch of great notes that I took about what Neil was saying. I want to definitely get to Garry because Garry, I'm sorry, Neil, you're terrific, but Garry's inspiring. Okay. So I want to get back. We're going to talk about why Garry inspires me, why Neil gets all the people inspired. We're going to talk about the value proposition of building relationships, not just shaking hands. All of that around the bend after Mr. Mendoza helps me pay a couple of bills. Regan? Thank you for making me smile, Mr. Mendoza. Now my nieces and nephews are going to want to watch the show. Hey, I want to thank all of our sponsors, but most of all, I want to thank our friends at Warren Henry. I want to thank Eric Day. I want to thank Samantha Wolf. I want to thank, of course, Warren's in and my good friend Larry's in. I can't wait. I'm going to get my new car coming up this summer. Larry and I are going to kind of figure out what we're going to get this time around. And I want to thank them so much for getting my wife the new QX car, the QX60, which the insurance companies don't even have it on their list yet. It's so brand new. And remember, whenever you're looking to buy or lease a car, you want to get every advantage that you can, and you want to join that Warren Henry family. That's why I'm a member of the Warren Henry family. Land Rover, Range Rover, Infiniti at Jaguar up at their gorgeous store at 151st and Biscayne. I will warn you, I go up that area, I stop in and get a coffee. So if you see me up there, I'm usually coffeeed up. They have a great place for you to wait. I want to thank Maytel Stark, who makes my mom, myself, and my beautiful wife, Vivian, all feel great when we go in and get our car serviced. Down in the Keys, they've got all kinds of different cars down there, including the Jeep that I'm thinking about getting. And of course, in Gainesville, they've got Audis. Maybe I'll get that fancy Audi sports car, Mr. Mendoza. We've got to start putting that up on the show, too. All those cars are great cars. They all come with the Warren Henry Advantage. Warren and Larry have worked very hard to make sure you get incredible benefits when you're a member of the Warren Henry family. That includes, they'll polish up your rims if you scrape your rims. They will make sure you get a loaner car if you need one when your car's in service. They will make sure that if you lose your keys, well, they'll get replaced. Those are like $100 for those keys. And of course, they'll make sure you're getting the best price on your used car, the best price on your new car, and they'll give you 72 hours to make sure you like that car. If you don't, you can return it. Guess what? Nobody returns their cars. They love them. So join me, my beautiful wife, Vivian. She's always first. My mom, and of course, all of my good friends. We're all members of the Warren Henry family. You should be too. Always the best price, always the best service, always Warren Henry.
Hey, this is Becca Carlson from Carlson Integrated. You know, a lot of our clients find that they can do anything, but not really everything. We are always excited to jump in and help. So whether you need another set of hands for a project or even comprehensive marketing management, our team of marketing mavens would love to have a conversation with you to see if we are the right fit. We do everything from logo and design work to email outreach and social media to writing and thought leadership. And here's a fun one. We are now offering our fabulous ebook of top 10 marketing tips on our website for free. So head over to carlsonintegrated.com and grab a copy today. And please always let us know how we can help. My email is Becca, that's BEKAH at carlsonintegrated.com. That's BEKAH at carlsonintegrated.com.
Becca and her team have been representing for a number of years. They work with a bunch of my clients. They always help me look good. They rebuilt my Freedom Business site. They rebuilt Sandstone, and now we're going to rebuild and rework the YouTube channel so that everybody can really see and participate in what we do and share our great energy. So thank you to Rebecca Carlson for helping me to project that. And what am I doing now? I'm projecting that to you. Give me a call, reach out to me, because when you add me to your team, this is what you get. I'm very transparent. I tell you what I think. I call BS a lot of times for people. It's actually perhaps my best function. So families use me, big real estate operating companies use me, high net worth investors work with me, and of course, Wall Street. I got a lot of business with Wall Street the past few years. So give me a call, reach out. If you need some capital, you need a creative idea, you need some structures, you need a personal representative in the community. I do all that stuff. And whenever you reach out to me, there's always one thing. That one thing is real important to me. And that's that when you call me, it's always all about you.
Welcome back to Freedom Business. Connect with us on LinkedIn, YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter at Jim Freed or at Freedom Business, and on Instagram at Jim Freed1. Now, back to your host, Jim Freed.
All right, we're here with Neil Greene from JABOY Productions. I want to thank my good friend Wendy Kraft for helping us put all this together. Neil is with JABOY Productions, and at JABOY, he produces events where you get allocators in great locations, you have great experiences, and you're surrounded by like-minded individuals, and together you can help change the world. I want to welcome one of Neil's clients, Garry Gilliam. Garry and Neil, welcome back to the show. Garry is the founder of, I can't ever read this, sorry, I'm leaning in, the Bridge There it is. I had a Bridge Echo Village, which I actually looked at the video, and I want to start talking to Garry about that right now. Garry, welcome to the show. And of course, Neil, thank you for putting together the events that inspire. And one of the reasons that people get inspired by the events is because they meet people like Garry. Garry, thank you so much for everything you do for our community. Garry played in the NFL. After his playing days, he wanted to make a change. He's making that change in Harrisburg. Garry, why Harrisburg, and what are you doing?
Well, I'm from Harrisburg, so that's why Harrisburg, certainly. And what I'm doing is we've actually acquired one of the old schools in the town, and we're converting it into what we call an eco village. Really just a fancy way of saying a mixed-use development. It's got residential and retail spaces.
Now, that's very important to me because every single community is beginning to need what I call the 15-minute neighborhood, where everybody doesn't need their car, where they can get everything done in 15 minutes, and that gives them more time to focus on what they need to focus on, which is typically love and kindness in my world. So, Garry, thank you for doing that. So people can live in that facility. What are some of the components in that mixed-use facility? Because I know somebody who needs to learn more about that here in the state of Florida.
Absolutely. There's 5 branches to the Bridge: work, eat, live, learn, and play. So the workspaces, those are co-working spaces, maker spaces. That's your space for entrepreneurs to come and develop businesses. The eat branch, that's actually agriculture. So aeroponics, hydroponics, greenhouses, not just providing grocery stores and restaurants, but also growing of food on site. The live branch, that's housing. That's low-income housing, senior housing, veteran housing, and market rate housing, all included on the same site. The learn branch is actually education. So teaching people how to utilize the spaces that we've created, not just, building a big, beautiful project, but teaching the community how to be self-sufficient within those spaces. A heavy lean on financial literacy, trades training, really, again, promoting self-sufficiency. And then that play branch, that's entertainment spaces, virtual reality, batting cages, trampolines, really providing outlets to help combat criminal issues as well as mental health issues within the community.
Is this where I say, wow, it sure is. It sure is. So let me tell you, I've got a niece. My niece is based up at University of Massachusetts Amherst, where she's getting her PhD in child psychology. Guess what her theme is? Her theme is making children of color happier. She's been to Africa many times to do it. My niece looks a little bit more like you than she does me, Garry. My brother. He had a biracial child. So my point is that I'm 100% invested in what you're trying to do. When we're done, I want to make sure that you and my niece get together because I know she wants to meet you. I've already sent her stuff to you. I mean, your stuff to her, and she definitely was inspired. Garry, I really do want to thank you for doing something to empower people that have been ignored by our society for many, many years. Neil, how come you decided to help Garry out with this?
Well, honestly, it was actually a weird situation, a pretty compelling situation. I was in Italy at the Vatican, actually in Rome, and one of our keynote speakers had given me a call and said, well, they couldn't make it just to some other unexpected circumstance. And I made a call to somebody I have a great relationship with that was coming to my conference. And they said to me, don't worry, I've got somebody better than that keynote speaker that's going to blow away the audience. And I said, well, it better blow away the audience because everyone's expecting this keynote speaker, which is, on TV all the time and, very, very well known. And they said, and I've never heard of Garry Gilliam, but you know what? Let's take a shot at it. And you know what? Again, we delivered Garry. And when I can tell you, when he presented at the conference in Rome, not only was I obviously surprised, I had no idea what he was going to talk about. I had no idea about his background or what he even did. So to me and the entire audience, it was unbelievable. The entire audience, first of all, started to cry. Then they started to applaud. And then they started to basically, with just total amazement, trying to figure out how they can get involved with what Garry's doing. So from start to finish, when you have somebody that delivers that kind of a keynote speaker, you got a winner. So with that, obviously, we were happy and just delighted to have Garry there. And like I said, just to follow up, we had him at our last conference, which was a couple of weeks ago in New Orleans. And hopefully he'll be in London, which is our next conference, which will be in July at the Hyatt Regency Churchill, which we're just announcing today. So again, to have somebody like that doesn't matter because, again, it's not about the big name on TV. It's about the passion and what he can deliver, anybody that, again, we can deliver at our conference that adds that extra value is more important to me than just a face.
Now, Garry, what motivated you to want to give back to the community? Because, you know, we as consumers of sports on TV, we really don't get to know the sports guys. I mean, maybe you shake their hand, talk to them for 30 seconds. Sorry, I interrupted your steak dinner, or even better, they waited till the end. But Garry, you know, you're one of the gifted few that's giving back to the community. Tell me what motivated you to do that.
Man, that's easy. I had some very prominent, I'll call them bridge builders in my life. First and foremost, my mom, and what she did, she made a huge sacrifice actually for me. And she dropped me off at a boarding school and left me. And that boarding school was Milton Hershey School. It's actually a cost-free residential school for kids below the poverty line. And it was founded by the great chocolatier Milton Hershey and his wife, Catherine Hershey, who couldn't have children. So they founded this school back in 1909 for little white orphan boys. And that's what the school was. It's kind of like a trade school to teach the kids trades before they left. And within the deed, Milton Hershey, I'll quantify it as this. He goes, the skills pay the bills, right? So before you leave, you get nationally certified in a trade. So that's what the school was up through the 60s. Black males were admitted. In the 70s, females were admitted. And by the time that I went in the late 90s, it was no longer just for orphans, but it was for families below the poverty line, single parent homes, kids coming from some pretty bad situations, right? So I qualified to go to the school. I got accepted, but had no idea that I was going, right? My mom and I pull up on campus. She tells me to go play up on the playground and that she'd be right back. And she didn't come back, right? So I had to grow up fast, to say the least. And what the school, which is the biggest inspiration for the bridge, what it did was show that it was more than just providing the residential aspect, you know, of the school and the education. But Milton Hershey realized he had to provide the wraparound services for those students, and beyond that, the community, right? So Milton Hershey, obviously Hershey's chocolate, he founded that, created a place to work for his workers, but then created this ecosystem around them, places to eat, live, learn, play, right? Hershey Park, Hershey Gardens, Hershey Theater, Penn State Hershey Medical Center. And what it has yielded
Hershey, Pennsylvania.
Hershey, Pennsylvania, right? So I started to question at the school, one, you know, where are the rest of these campuses? Because the school actually has the largest educational endowment in the world, above Harvard and Yale, is Milton Hershey School. So where are the rest of these campuses? But then two, and more importantly, where are the other towns like Hershey, right? Why aren't these other corporations investing intentionally in the infrastructure of their communities? Because to this day, Hershey has yielded some of the highest property values in the state, some of the lowest cancer rates, one of the highest graduation rates in a local high school. It's an international destination, all off the back of a Fortune 100 company with the largest educational philanthropic endowment in the world, right?
Well,
so
that's tremendous.
That's
Tremendous. All that out of a chocolate bar.
That's
you know. And I watched the thing where he was going, and there's a whole thing on History Network about how he did that and everything. It was really tremendous to watch. We're going to take a quick break, and then we're going to get back with Neil and with Garry. We're going to get inspired. We're going to have Neil talk about how he gets people at his events to deliver value. And really what I liked, Neil, was how you create a group dynamic, which is the best way to build relationships. We're seeing the product right here with Garry. We'll be right back around the bend. We're going to have more inspirational talk from Garry and more business talk from Neil right after this. Mendoza, rock. Wow, that's really cool. Where was that? Was that like the youth fair, Mr. Mendoza? You'll have to put that in the chat. That was really cool stuff. Other cool stuff is when I go to Supercar Saturday, where I was last week. I want to thank my friends at Warren Henry for putting that on. I want to thank my friends Chris and Ken for joining me out there. We had a tremendous time. Hey, everybody, when you're looking to buy or lease a car, you want to get every advantage that you can. That's why I have to check out Warren Henry, Land Rover, Range Rover, Infiniti, and Jaguar up at 151st and Biscayne. Down in the Keys, well, they've got all their name brands down there. And well, up in Gainesville, they sell Audis. What do all those cars have in common? Well, they're all great cars, and they all come with the Warren Henry Advantage. That means you get complimentary key replacement. If you lose those fancy keys, well, they'll replace them. If you go up too close to the to the curb and you scratch your rims, well, guess what? They're going to polish those rims up for you. Hey, let's say you have to leave your car there. Well, they'll give you a loaner car. And of course, they'll make sure you get the best price on your used car, on your new car, and they'll make sure you like it. They give you 72 hours to trade in your car if you don't like it. And guess what? No one really does that because they all love their cars. So join me, my mom, my beautiful wife, Vivian, lots and lots of my friends. We're all members of the Warren Henry family. You should be too. Always the best price, always the best service, always Warren Henry.
It's time to stop the hate and spread some love. You are beautiful, you're smart, you are awesome, and you never have to change for anybody. You have the voice and you have the power. We are so much stronger when we come together. It's your choice, so choose to be inspired. Choose to be accepting, be strong, be brave, be awesome, be daring, be kind. Choose kindness.
All right, we're all about choosing kindness today. Garry chose kindness when he did his project up in Harrisburg. And of course, Neil exhibits kindness at all of his events. And so do we. Give me a call, DM me. I exhibit kindness and I work with the community. I'm doing it right now, helping them redevelop one of the submarkets that's under incredible gentrification pressure, looking to make sure that the neighborhood maintains its original character. Not easy to do. Garry and I may talk about that in the next segment. But hey, give me a call. I work with families from across the world. I work with big real estate operating companies, typically owned by big families. And I work with institutional investors and private lenders and interesting capital sources that are very creative. What do I do with them? I put them all together. Some people, they think of life as a matrix. Not me. I look at life as a Rubik's Cube, and I put those people together. Sometimes they even know each other, but I put them together in a different way, thinking differently. Why do I do that? Because it's important to me, and it's important to my clients. We're building a better place here. So remember, when you reach out to me, there's one thing you always have to keep in mind, and that's that when you call me, it's always all about you.
Welcome back to Freedom Business. Connect with us on LinkedIn, YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter at Jim Freed or at Freedom Business, and on Instagram at Jim Freed1. Now, back to your host, Jim Freed.
All right, we're back with more Freed on Business, and I took the broadcast off of my big fancy screen and put it on my computer so people would see me looking them straight in the eye rather than going like this the whole time. I think it's a much better approach. Even though it's easier for me to see on the big screen, it's better for you to watch when you're on this screen. Hey, Mr. Mendoza, let's bring back our guests. There we go. Neil Greene, founder of JABOY Productions there. And of course, Garry Gilliam. He's got his development up in Harrisburg, The Bridge. Garry, welcome back to the show. Neil, thank you so much for everything. Let's go back to Neil for a second. Neil produces these tremendous events across the world. He invites some of the most interesting people, like Garry, to the events, and he brings them together to create collisions. Neil, tell me a little bit about what happens in the after the event at your conferences. What goes on after the lights go off? Because I think maybe some of the biggest deals happen that way.
Yeah, it's actually pretty funny that you mentioned that, because we've had so many inspiring situations that have happened after. We've had weddings, we've had engagements, we've had business transactions, people actually becoming partners in businesses and things like that. Or even, you know, some of our speakers now pop up at other events and things like that. So it's always inspiring to see the involvement afterwards. And again, we talk about the quality over quantity. So anybody that's going to be in our audience is going to have that quality component. So I think that's most important.
You know, I think that the most important thing, like, you know, we talked about earlier, is that you create a very nice group dynamic by selecting a lot of the people that are at the event. Garry, why don't you give us an example? You first became involved with Neil at the at the event in the Vatican. Tell me about one of the interesting collisions you had at that event that told you that Neil's events were the place for you to be.
Well, shoot. I met Pierre DuPont of the DuPont family and the Wawa family, which was kind of cool. And he actually ended up quoting me in his keynote, which was, kind of surreal. He was talking about, passing on generational wealth before, beyond the fourth and fifth generation. Definitely a lot to learn. And I was like, wow, top notch people here, top notch families. Is not just talking about family offices. The people here are the real deal, providing very valuable information, from some families that have been doing this thing for years. So yes, top notch.
Well, I think that you're passing down the inheritance that your mom gave to you. What's the one special thing that your mom gave to you besides dropping you off at that school?
Whew, man, a lot. And I'd say this, that she could care less how athletic I was, and that I needed to show her A's on my report card.
I love that woman. I love that woman. Yeah, and anyway, even if you're good on the athletic field, everybody's good at a certain point, and it all starts kind of up here at that point. Now, what's the status of the Bridge Village? Where are we with the construction, the development, the execution of the plan? Tell us a little bit about your successes.
Yeah, the Bridge Eagle Village there in Harrisburg, Pennsylvania is actually under construction, and we're starting our heavy construction phase actually later this year. We've locked in a lot of our investors. We have a round that'll be opening up here over the summer. That's our location in Harrisburg, and we're also working on a few other locations. I won't specifically say where, but they're actually across the nation and in Africa. So things are going very well for the bridge. The pandemic and COVID, in a way, actually, increased the types of properties that we look for: schools, malls, shopping centers, warehouses, but also the amount of public funds going toward these type of redevelopment projects.
We'd love to get you down here in Miami. Maybe we could talk about that off air. You've got my email on the invite. I'd love to help bring your ideas down here. There's other people that are involved that have similar focuses, like Alonzo and, David Beckham. Would love to get you together. I'm sure they're on Neil's short list of people that he calls and gets to his events. So Neil, let's talk about that a little bit. You put these together, you reach out, you get guys like Garry and to speak at the events, and Mr. DuPont. Tell us some of your other keynotes that you've had at some of your most recent events.
Oh, wow. We've had, actually from your neck of the woods, we've had Grant Cardone, we've had John Najarian, we've had Tom Lee, we've had Consuelo Vanderbilt. Again, we've had Kent Swig from the Fairmont Hotel Group. We've had many professional athletes. We just had Chris Chambers. Again, he played for the Miami Dolphins. We had Chris Manhertz, played for the Jacksonville Jaguars. I mean, the list goes on and on. And it's not all about the celebrity in it. It's all about, like I said, there are a lot of people that play professional athletes, but at the end of the day, they don't really have that quality component that we look to represent at our conference. And most of those athletes or keynote speakers are coming from one thing, which is most important, and that's the referral. Because there's nothing better than somebody like Garry that's experienced it, that can tell his other friends or colleagues, whether or not they're other athletes or professionals, about the story. And I just got a comment yesterday on LinkedIn from one of the most prominent leaders of a top pension plan, like one of the largest in the world. And his comment was, there is nothing else better in the world than Neil's conferences. I mean, that's pretty much quote unquote. And that's from somebody that manages $100 billion in a pension plan that came to my conference just to actually source investments. So to me, that represents, again, somebody spreading the word of what we do. And as you know, LinkedIn is a very powerful tool. Getting those types of referrals and those types of commentary out there, that really resonates with a lot of people. And yesterday we had a news release that came out that summarized what we did in New Orleans and also announced our upcoming conference in London in July. We had a great quote in there from Pierre DuPont. We also had Odafe Owa, which was, again, he was at our conference. He came, believe it or not, as an attendee, not as a speaker. He came, again, he just signed a contract with the Baltimore Ravens. I think the highest contract that the Baltimore Ravens or somebody actually in the NFL actually just ever got. Very, very unique and extra special. He actually emailed afterwards that he would love to be a speaker at my conference in the upcoming future. So that's the types of things that we can basically deliver. So now we're now talking to him about London, be able to get up on stage and telling his story. The same thing happened with Chris Manhurst. Chris came to one of my conferences that we did in Las Vegas, again, as an attendee, and we had talked about, speaking. He was a first-time keynote speaker, first time at my conference in New Orleans. So those are the types of things that we can deliver. So hopefully that answers your question there.
It does. When I go to a lot of these events and I see some people sitting on the sidelines, they seem to be getting lost in the crowd. How do people function at your events as far as meeting new people and getting getting involved, spending time with each other, building bridges and breaking down barriers? How do you make that happen at your events, Neil?
Yeah, so it's part of the agenda. The agenda is something that is constructed, believe it or not, maybe 10 days prior to the event. And ironically, most conferences, if you look at them, they have their agenda maybe a year or two in advance. How do you plan an event a year or two in advance if you don't even know what the current situation is going to be? So our agenda is relevant onto what's happening. So, for example, in New Orleans, things had just happened a week before about Ukraine. Things had just happened recently about what was happening with, the economy and the summit that happened over in Zurich. Those types of things, to be able to discuss that, you need to be relevant. So we keep our conferences and the agendas relevant. Again, we give our attendees breaks. We give them experiences through, like I said, we did MS Rao. If you look at it in the Wall Street Journal, it's one of the most prominent locations for fine art, for fine jewelry, and then also other things that you probably never experienced in your life. Like I mentioned, a $8 million Harry Winston necklace. So, be able to experience that. We do things at night that are very cool. We do what's called a dine around program. Dine around is we break up the groups into small, 5 to 10 people with a particular sponsor at a great location around the city that incorporates the food, the culture, and things like that are there. But you now are not in this overwhelming crowd that you don't have a chance to get to know the people next to you. So again, it's all thought through. It's all highly curated, and things like that resonate with the attendees. And again, like I said, when we can put quality sponsors together with quality attendees, again, things happen. And that's what we're doing. They're developing and allocating from our group more money than any other conference out there for that particular reason.
That's tremendous. I want to take another quick break, and then I want to get together with Garry and talk about what his plans for the future are and how he plans on getting there. Sounds like a really good story to me. Mr. Mendoza. Yeah, I like this week's theme. That's really tremendous. I love the animal theme. Last week it was sports. I'm kind of wondering what next week's theme is going to be. Keep me guessing, Mr. Mendoza. One thing I never have to guess about is the quality of service and the quality of vehicle that I get from Warren Henry. Just bought myself a brand new QX60. I don't even think there's but 10 or 15 of them in the whole country. The insurance people didn't even know how to put the insurance on. I want to thank, of course, my good friends, Larry's in. Warren's in, Eric Day, and Samantha Wolf, all my friends over at Warren Henry. They always make me feel good. And they also make sure you get the Warren Henry Advantage when you buy a car there. What is that? Well, that's a whole list of services Warren and his team put together. It includes, you get a free loaner car when you turn your car in. You get, they'll replace your keys if you lose your keys. Those are expensive. They'll polish up your rims if you come a little bit too close to the curb. I love parking close to the curb, but I don't love those scratches. And of course, they've got their best price guarantee. They'll make sure you get the best price on your car. They'll make sure you get the best price for your used car. And of course, they'll let you have 72 hours. That's 3 days to make sure you like your car or you can return it. Nobody returns their cars. They all love their cars. Join me, my beautiful wife, Vivian, my mom, lots and lots of my friends. We're all members of the Warren Henry family. You should be too. Always the best service, always the best price, always Warren Henry.
Becca Carlson from Carlson Integrated. You know, a lot of our clients find that they can do anything, but not really everything. We are always excited to jump in and help. So whether you need another set of hands for a project or even comprehensive marketing management, our team of marketing mavens would love to have a conversation with you to see if we are the right fit. We do everything from logo and design work to email outreach and social media to writing and thought leadership. And here's a fun one. We are now offering our fabulous ebook of top 10 marketing tips on our website for free. So head over to carlsonintegrated.com and grab a copy today. And please always let us know how we can help. My email is Becca, that's BEKAH at carlsonintegrated.com. That's BEKAH at carlsonintegrated.com.
Becca and her team are tremendous. They help me look good. They've helped me rebuild all of my social stuff, and I'm very excited to work with them. They do great work for both me and a lot of my clients. Who are my clients? My clients are high net worth individuals, family offices. I've got a fund from overseas that I'm working with now to do pref equity and mezz funds on apartment buildings. We're doing affordable housing, workforce housing. We're working with all kinds of different people all across the city with all kinds of different needs. But the number one thing we're bringing them is solutions, creative solutions. You need a creative solution for your real estate transaction, retail, apartment, condo, office. Got money for all of them. Debt, equity. You need an execution partner. Got a great piece of real estate but don't know what to do. I'm helping with that too. Usually that's a family I help. So call me, DM me, email me. Stand on the street corner, raise your hand, and look up Google. I'm always there too. But remember, whatever you do, when you reach out to me, there's one thing that's always for sure. And that's when you reach out to me, when you call me, it's always all about you.
Welcome back to Freed on Business. Connect with us on LinkedIn, YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter at Jim Freed or at Freed on Business, and on Instagram at Jim Freed1. Now, back to your host, Jim Freed.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Mendoza. We're on with Neil Greene of JABOY Productions. He's the premier expert on RIA and family office events. And we've got one of his clients and keynote speakers, Gilliam. Gary's a former NFL player who went back to his hometown and is doing some tremendous things with the Bridge Eco Village. So, guys, welcome back to the show for our final segment. Really appreciate having you here. I wanted to talk to Garry for a second. Garry, what's next and how do we get there?
Continue to attract capital, build sustainable developments that can not only just take in grants and tax credits, but sustain themselves, and then reinvest the extra capital we got back into the ground to build another bridge. So we're identifying properties around the country, identifying teams, identifying capital, and then putting the work in to build these projects.
In a mixed use deal, sometimes it takes different developers with different skill sets. Do you team up with local people to help execute the different components like the affordable, the senior, the office, the retail, the recreational, the learning centers? How do you identify your community partners?
Yeah, no, that's exactly what we do. We look to do joint ventures with those local developers, contractors, the one who have the boots on the ground, who have built projects there, and look to work with them just to come with a different perspective on how to do community development by way of commercial real estate development. So that is exactly what we look to do. And then also on the nonprofit side, which is really what packs the punch, is we identify community leaders and nonprofits that are already kind of doing the self-sufficiency programming that we look to bring to each bridge location. So the teaching of how to do business, the teaching of how to farm, how to invest and develop real estate, all those things are also included there too. So not just identifying developers and contractors, but also working with community stakeholders and government officials to make sure that this is a true public-private partnership.
Well, I do know the Commissioner of Agriculture in the state of Florida. I'm sure that her team would love to understand what you're doing here in the urban community to create the vertically integrated structures that you have. Neil, your stuff is really curated. How do people get to go?
Yeah, that's the thing. We're really, at this point, super selective. So we mostly work on referrals. There are people, as you mentioned before, and attributed to Wendy Kraft. Wendy Kraft brought us together. Wendy is, obviously the most prominent, I would think, in the family office side of things. And when I come down to either a desire to bring somebody on board, I'll reach out to Wendy, or in some cases, she'll actually ping me for somebody that should be at our conference. But she, again, has been for many years and understands the layout of who we want to deliver to our conference. But again, it's people that are telling our story, and we can be selective. And as I mentioned, it's not about filling hundreds of people. It's being actually, I'd rather be smaller and more powerful than just a bunch of people in a room. So again, that's how we curate it. I'm always, when I start off, and again, we just launched our event in London, I'll look for those people that play a role in that sophistication, that are really allocating, that are there for a particular purpose, and that is to inspire, to be able to collaborate and network with the best of the best.
You know, I really think that's what's so important to the events. I go to them, and I don't want to use the term picking through, but I will say that I do walk around and seek to make eye contact with people that make it back. Yeah, Gary's laughing now. And a lot of people, they don't want to make eye contact. I think a lot of them are just there. They really are enjoying the environment. They're enjoying rubbing elbows. They're enjoying surrounding themselves with others that make them feel good. But the real reason that I want to go is to meet that one or two people that they're at that event that can add gasoline to what I'm doing, and that I can help go to the next level. You know, we're kind of getting close to the end, and I wanted to go back to the beginning with Garry. Garry, you know, I hit your website. I see this short video with a young man that's standing in front of what I guess is your facility now. Tell me who that person is and why you selected the facility that you've selected, and what that all plays in your big message, because that's the first thing that came out to me. So to me, that's your first message.
Yeah, that's actually my little cousin, and his name is JJ, and he's playing me when I was little. And I think he's talking about kind of right before I went to Milton Hershey School, and how my mom was always instilling certain messages and values and morals into me, and how eventually it became the bridge, and how I'm looking to do that, and am doing that in communities in a very holistic way, you know. So yeah, that's who it is. And the building he's in front of is our main campus there in Harrisburg, Pennsylvania, the former Bishop McDevitt High School, where actually LaShawn McCoy and Ricky Waters played in high school in Harrisburg. So that's the building that we acquired, and that's being developed in Harrisburg.
Wow, Ricky Waters. Talk about a great player and a great name to drop on that. Hopefully he's involved with your thing too. I want to ask a kind of personal question. You don't have to answer if you don't want to. So if your mom's on the show today, and I ask her what's the big advice, the number one thing that she said to Garry Gilliam when he was growing up, what would that be, Garry? What's your mom's message?
Am I allowed to curse on here or no?
No cursing.
Huh?
No cursing, but you could kind of allude to it.
Yeah. Like before every football game, she just tell me to go out there and show my butt. Like, go out there and do what it is you know you can do. Go handle business. You know, don't have the paralysis of analysis. You prepared, so go out and be confident. You know, she just always told me to go perform.
That's tremendous. And I think that she did one other thing, Garry. I think that she gave you an unconditional fountain of love, because I don't think you could do anything if you didn't have that as a foundation.
That's a fact.
No, that's tremendous. Neil, I'm going to give you the last word. You know, we started at the beginning. We talked about the fact that you create events that are highly curated, that are very functional, that the best of the best go to. Again, I want to thank Wendy Kraft for helping us get together. I really appreciate the personal endorsement that she gives that allows me to bring speakers like you onto the show to expose them to my network. Neil, what would you say is one thing that people would take away from one of your events? Even if they can't go, let's give them a little nugget. I attended your event, your last one that Garry attended. What would, I guess that was New Orleans, right? What would the takeaway from New Orleans be for somebody?
Yeah, again, it's the experience of the speakers, the sponsors, the culture, just even the city tours that we do. I mean, think about it. Everything's incorporated into that. The little nuggets of, the networking breaks, the cocktails at the bar with these sophisticated, powerful people that are together, just thought leaders coming up with something that they can do together. With somebody like Garry, right, with what he's doing to inspire so many people. And for a Pierre DuPont or a sophisticated family office to be able to sit and speak with a guy like Garry, who's, like you said, played for the NFL. It's not about just, again, filling the room. It's filling that room with the power. And again, you know, talking about, and maybe starting from the beginning, and I built this business not to basically just fill a room with people. It's to fill it with the quality. And I look at a lot of these other events, and I follow, you know, a lot of them, believe it or not, on Instagram and, you know, LinkedIn, whatever it's going to be. And I look at the photos they post, and I can tell, you know what? It's the same people that are there. You know what they're there for, Jim? They're there for the free food, the free booze, and the opportunity just to get out. If you're a real legitimate family office, how could you be at 7 family office events within a week? It doesn't make sense. If you're a business owner and a business guy or girl, you got better things to do than hop around to a conference. I don't want those guys or girls at my conferences. Those people we no longer accept at our conferences. I want somebody like Garry that the first time he stepped into a conference or family office was my event. That's what we deliver. We bring first-time real family offices, real RIAs, professional athletes to our conference. Let the other guys go eat their food, drink their wine and their booze, but the real legitimate people going down the road, and as always, they're coming to JABOY Productions events.
Neil, I want to thank you guys. Garry, the last professional athlete on my show, we had Lewis Oliver on. We were talking about the scholarship that the Warren Henry folks give to the scholar athlete here in Miami. If you'd like, I'd love the opportunity to let the folks at Warren Henry possibly get you together with Lewis here in town. Neil, I want to thank you so much for being on the show, and I really like you, but I got to tell you, Garry Gilliam, that was the meat and potatoes here, man. He inspired me. I love Garry. We'll get together if you want. I'll send you my niece, my wonderful niece, Garana, who's helping change people's lives every day. Garry, you just inspire me. What I can do to help you, you're just going to let me know. And Neil, I got to thank you. Thank you so much for allowing me into your well-curated group, allowing me to interview Garry, helping me understand where you fit within the family office community. And I got to say it this way, what you described was the family office circuit. I don't know how they do these 10 meetings in 1 week down in Miami. It's just ridiculous. It's all based on everybody's here, but I don't see how it's any better than just standing in a room and going like this. It's about sharing experiences and building relationships with JABOY. I think that's really what we learned today.
I appreciate it. Thank you, Jim. And Garry, thanks for coming on. I appreciate that as well.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Garry. Thank you so much, Neil. I want to thank everybody that listened today. I want to thank our sponsors at Warren Henry, the NFL Alumni Association, the University of Florida Center for Real Estate Studies, and all the beautiful people that support us. I want to thank you, our listeners. Without you, we wouldn't have a show. Remember, we'll be on next Wednesday live at noon. We'll be on freedombusiness.com. All our stuff is on there, on YouTube, everything else. And remember, the person that wants, this is for you, Garry, the person that wants to do something finds a way. The other finds an excuse. Now go out there and make it happen. God bless you, Garry, and God bless the United States of America.
Yeah.